jolly good. Right, oh, seem a bit of a mess. My colours aren't right or anything. Never mind. Do you like my Highland Heather t-shirt? Highland Heather and So Saffron. Who else? I'd be absolutely fascinated to know if anybody else looks at their clothes and looks at things around them and calls them by their Stampin' Up colours, because I do. That's all my clothes are like that. Night of navy top, obviously, to go with it. Anyway, welcome everybody today. I haven't got the chat up. Hang on, let me get that up. So if you are watching this, please do let me know where you're from, where you're watching from, what's going on. I've got my cup of coffee, as always. I always think I'll try and get organised and drink it before I start, and I never do. But yes, I'm hoping everybody's well today. It's another lovely day here. A few little grey clouds coming in, but we still have some blue sky, and it really has. We've had fabulous weather here. I feel very sorry for people in London and around the Midlands, because they've had terrible floods, I understand. So if you're watching from there, then I really do feel for you. It's awful when you're thinking that your home might get flooded, or you can't get anywhere because all the roads are flooded. It's just horrible. So we used to live in Derbyshire, where we used to live. It was just above a place called Darley Bridge, and Darley Bridge would often flood when the river got very full, and that was quite difficult, although we did have other roads we could take to get through, and it wasn't usually bad enough so that those roads were bad as well. Anyway, enough about flooding. We don't want to talk about nasty things. Let's talk about fun things, and let's talk about some crafting. So I've got lots and lots to show you today, and what I'm going to show you in terms of the card we're going to make, I want to show you how to colour in 3 different ways to get a nice effect on the cards. So without any more ado, as I say, do let me know if you're watching, where you're from and what your interest is. Oh, that is working. Mainly of my coffee cup. I'll just move it and grab a bit more. And in fact, I will keep it fairly close because I'll forget to drink it otherwise. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is we had a wonderful event on Saturday. Our development manager for the UK and Ireland, who is Helen Sims, came over with one of the chaps from head office of Stampin' Up, Kevin, who is lovely, and they came and did a free event for demonstrators, and demonstrators could bring friends, which was lovely. So I was able to take one of my friends, and other people did too. We had roomfuls of people. It was great. I do have some pictures. If you're on my email list, you'll have seen the pictures I shared on Saturday. If you're not on my email list, then please do go to the website and sign up. Anyway, I was asked to do a demonstration at it, which is lovely, and I feel very honoured for that. But to do that, I actually had to make a card, and the only thing I was given was we needed to use the lovely Labelled with Love set, and as you know, I like that. I have used it in plenty of things before. I think we used it in one of the lives very recently as well, possibly even last week. But I sort of played around, and I thought I'd show you the cards I played around with. That was the first one I tried. I used the spotty stamp as a background and did 2 cutout panels and a bit of DSP. Wasn't sure I liked it, so that was my first try. Nah, perhaps not. This was my second one. I quite liked that layout a lot, but I think the pink is lost on the pink. I like monochrome, but I didn't particularly think that was great. So then I tried this one, and I stamped the flower on the background piece of white as well as on the cutout pieces, and I used the butterfly and the stamps, and I just thought, nah, that one's a little bit messy, but I still like that layout. So the one I ended up with was this one, which is just on the plain background, and I just stamped the flowers and leaves in the monocolour on each of the panels and added the sentiment in the middle with a little bit of ribbon just across there. And the background, you could either use DSP or, showing on that one, I think it's more obvious. Oh no, this one. Or if you look there, I've used a piece of card as the background, but I've stamped that confetti-like stamp to give a background. And that's a little tip, an extra tip for today. It wasn't a tip I'd planned, but this is a tip for today. If you haven't got any DSP that you want to use as in the background, and you need to have a nice fancy bit of background, like on this sort of card, then use one of the stamps. Use a stamp that's got a bit of an image, fairly small image, whatever it can be, and then just stamp it around the edge, and then that gives you a sort of nice patterned edge for a card. On the other two of these, I've actually used DSP. So that was the card I demonstrated, and then everybody made the card. But quite frankly, I was bored with that card by then for obvious reasons. So this was the one I actually made at the event. I tied the ribbon round and added a little knot there, which I didn't tie from the ribbon. I actually tied it separately and stuck it on with a glue dot, which I always do. I mentioned that last week as a sort of idea for ribbon. And then I did 3 panels and used the 2 colours on the panel, which I think looks a bit better. Yeah, I was really pleased with that one as well. So that was on Saturday. And at these events, at all the Stampin' Up events, then people can take, I'm just going to move this well out of the way, so on the floor, that's a good place. People take swaps. So I'd actually made a card. This card I actually made for our team meeting. We have a crafting team meeting where we meet, the 4 of us demonstrators meet together and just craft together. And I'd made this card for that event, but I decided I would actually use it and made the same front. I just made card fronts actually, to use as my swap. So little peek about that set. This is the gorgeous, the Greenery Suite. Can't remember the full name of it. It's on an online exclusive. So you just go to the website and have a look at those. Gorgeous, gorgeous set. I shall be using it a lot for Christmas cards, so expect to see it again in one of these live soon. And while I'm on about the website, please have a look, because there is the clearance rack was updated overnight. So there's a whole load of loads of new products added to the clearance rack. So do have a look, because there's lots to see. So let's get on with today's card. So I'm using the lovely Changing Leaves bundle again, which is this one. We used it before a couple of weeks ago. It's got the 3 lovely stamps and lots of nice sentiments, but the beauty of it, oh, I've got lots of bits. That's because I've made loads of cards actually with it. And I had loads of leaves left over because, again, I was playing around and couldn't decide on the colour I actually wanted. I did eventually. We went for Basic Beige for my card for last week's class. But I had loads of leaves left over. So in fact, I'll go and get it just to show you. So I made myself a name badge for the event. Ooh. Which has now got a little bit bent because I had it on, and so that leaf definitely needs sticking back on again. But yeah, I just put some leaves together and made my own little name badge for the event, which yeah, I was quite proud of. So that leaf definitely needs some love and attention to stick it back on. But anyway, it was good fun. So there's always something you can do with the bits left over. I think that's the rule from that. So this bundle, this comes as a bundle, this stamp set. You can buy it just as the stamp set, but I would buy the bundle as well, which is the Hybrid Leaves embossing folder. Now, the stamp set is available at the moment. The bundle isn't, because this embossing folder and the dies are out of stock, sadly, but they are due in again at the end of the month. So that's the update for this, I think. So it has this gorgeous embossing folder, which I've used in today's card. And it's a hybrid embossing folder because the one of the dies, there are plenty of others, but one of the dies, as you can see, just slots in, and you can sort of feel it click in, so it doesn't then move once it's clicked in. So it will cut out the 3 leaves, and they look beautiful. So I'll show you on here. Here's the stamped leaves, and here's the embossed leaves types. So you can see they're just lovely. So I have used that for today's card. Oh, the other dies that it comes with, plenty more leaves, a sort of sprig in the middle, some set leaves, and some lovely dotted shape dies for sentiments and things. So that is the set. I've left this out because I just embossed it, so you can see the sort of embossing. You'll see it better in a bit. And this is what it looks like when the 3 leaves are cut out, because you just sort of set it up and it cuts them out automatically. So let us get on with today's card. So today's card is this one. And I've done it not to sort of show the techniques of sort of embossing and things, but for the techniques of colouring the leaves. And that's what I want to show you today. So I have done quite a lot of the preparation. The inside of the card looks like that. We're just going to do that as well. And obviously I stamped the envelope because you have to. So let me get on. I have used for this card, I'll put it there so you can still see it. I've used 3 different colours for the card, actually in that order for the leaves. So I've used wild wheat, copper clay, and pecan pie. And I've used a different technique, I'll hold it up again so you can see them a bit easier, to colour each of those leaves. So I've used a splatter technique on one, a sponge one on the other, and watercolour on the third. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So that's the ink I still want. So what I have done, I've actually got a lot of the bits already. So what do you need for the card? Well, I have used a pecan pie base. So this is the normal sized base. So it's 21 centimetres by 14.8, scored at 10.5. Or if you prefer in inches, 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, scored at 4.25 for letter-sized card. Then you need a piece for the bit across the middle, which is embossed, and I've already done the embossing on this using that folder I've just shown you. And this piece is, and I've lost my paper where it is. Anyway, I know it. It's 14.8 centimetres or 5.5 inches by 7 centimetres or 2.75 inches. So that is the bit across the front. And then you need a piece for the inside, and it doesn't really matter what size that piece is, whatever piece sort of fits in there. This one was 10.5 by 10.5, which is 4.25 by 7 centimetres ish, just a little bit over 7 centimetres, and which is 2.75 inches. So that was the size I used in there. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to use one that had a fairly big border all the way around. So making the card up is dead simple. We're going to use the embossed piece, and I realise I haven't got the ribbon out. Let me just reach the ribbon, which is copper clay ribbon, which is one of the in colours from last year to next April. So I've used the copper clay ribbon, and in this one I actually put it round the card, round the front, which is what I'm going to do now. And then I actually thought, no, I need something more. So I added the knot afterwards. So it's a little bit squished at the end. I'm not going to make that mistake today. We're going to have it a little bit further across. So first thing I'm going to do is get my scissors. My scissors I keep specially for ribbon. I don't use those on paper and card. And we're going to wrap this round. And I showed you how to do this last week, so I'm just going to do it very, very quickly today. So I need a little piece of tear and tape on each side, on the back, in the middle where the ribbon's going to go. So I use the lines on my desk to see where the middle actually is, but on a fairly narrow piece of card, it's not too difficult to get it right. So take that off, stick it, the one end on, wrap it around the card, lay it across. As you know, I don't bother sticking it down the middle of the card because I don't need to. I'm just going to stick it on the back. And if I stick one end, lay it on, it's gone a bit funny, that tear and tape, never mind, it'll do. Lay it on, then lay the thing flat and bring the other end round, and that allows it to lie really flat. You could put tape along the middle if you wanted. I personally don't bother. Just get rid of that and get my glue. So I can now stick this one on the front of the card. So I shall use just a little bit of Tombow. Again, you could use tear and tape or stamp and seal or whichever is your favourite glue. I used not to like Tombow. When I did go to classes originally, I hated Tombow, wouldn't use it at all. But now I actually love it and probably use it as my preferred adhesive. Right, so I need to make sure that's straight, so it's lined up, properly each side. This Tombow is giving me wriggle room, almost too much, it's moving. There we go. So I'm just going to stick that in the middle like that. And then, as I said, to stick the bow on, this is quite thick ribbon. And one of my tips is if you've got thick ribbon like this, unless you want a real statement bow, don't make it in a bow because it's just too big. But a little knot is actually quite nice as a little little something. So I'm just going to tie a knot there. There we go. And then again, use my ribbon scissors to trim that little bit because it's got a bit frayed, and trim the opposite end. Trim it the same way actually. There we go. There's my little knot. Put the ribbon out, so I need my glue dots. And I can just use a couple of those and I'll just stick them on the back of the knot. So I can press the knot into the glue dot to pick it up and then stick it, wrap it round if it's going to show a little bit. Oops, sticking to me now. And then I can stick that on. And then if I put my leaves on after that, I'm going to get them slightly better spaced out than on the first card. So that is my card base ready. Let's go with what I wanted to show you today, which are the ways of colouring these cards. So for this particular one, the first one, I'm going to get a piece of scrap paper. Look, a nice clean piece, mainly because then you'll see what I mean about this is actually quite messy. So I'm using, there's several ways you can do this actually. I am using, I'll perhaps show you both, show you the difference. But first of all, I'm using this, which is my stamping blend. And this is the wild wheat to match the wild wheat that I've stamped the leaf in. And I've just cut it out, by the way, using that big die, or you could fussy cut if you haven't got the die. So one way to do it is take the brush end, and you can just sort of, if you tap it really hard, you can sometimes get something. I never have success with that. So I like to just use the edge of a scissors or bone folder or pokey tool or something. I use my pokey tool just to sort of flick it. And hopefully, because I've used a nice white piece of paper, you can see how that is being flicked over. Be careful because you'll flick it all over your desk, but that is enough. And you can just put on as much or as little as you want, really. Got some bit more up the top here. So you can see from the splatter on the paper that it is quite a messy technique. Just do some the other way to get it this side a bit more full. There, I've used quite a lot on that one. But you can see from the paper, it does spread everywhere and it will get on everything if you're not careful. But that's why just be gentle with it. And it doesn't really damage the tip. You won't damage your tips doing that. The other way to do it, I'm just kind of clean this this tip before I get it stained. There we go. So you can see how much splatter there was. If I lift this up and show you. Quite a lot of splatter, but it has, as you can see, just coloured the leaf there. So that's one technique for colouring. And it gives, for things like leaves, it gives a lovely, lovely random sort of splatter picture on it, which I rather like. So that's the first leaf. The second way to do the splatter, I said I'd just mention that, is just get yourself a stamping block, scribble on it with your pen, and then you can pick it up. You can use the ink pad or just pick it up from the ink pad actually. Pick up on your water pen, make sure I've got lots of water on that. There we go. And then if you can just see it coming there. That'll be wetter and takes a while to dry, but it'll still give the same effect. Yeah, so that's another way to do it if you want it. I'll just squeeze that out because we need that clean for the next thing. So cleaning out the water paper is really easy. You just sort of squeeze it until it runs clear. You can try it on the paper to check it is clear, which it is. I'm just cleaning the block because if I leave that to sit, it is going to stain. If you use the ink pads, they actually clean on the block much, much better. So I would use the ink pad for that one, which I'm going to show you for watercolouring later, so you can use the same technique for splatter. So that's my first leaf. So my second leaf, this one, I'll keep this here because I still need a background for it. This is stamped in copper clay. So I've got myself a dauber. So a little bit of sponge would do. This is the Stampin' Up daubers. They're lovely because they just fit on your finger, which makes it very easy. And then you can get your ink pad. Just as you can see, it's already got ink on it. pick up some ink from the ink pad, and then you just can splatter it around. So I'm just going to do that just very gently because I don't want it going too deep. I think on my first card it went too deep. The colour, I mean. So this one I'm just going to stamp a bit lighter. And it just has a lovely sort of speckled finish. Let me try and bring that up to show you a little bit closer without it going too close. Yeah. So you can make that as dark or as light as you want. Obviously on this one here, I put a lot more ink on it, made it a lot darker. I think I'm going with the lighter version today. So that's that one. And then for the final one, now actually, have I got a little bit of Pecan Pie to show you on this one? Because I do want to show you. Oh, let me just go and grab another bit of card. Well, put it here to get it. This is, I should have said I'm using Basic Beige card. So I just need a sort of scrap that's big enough. Is that big enough? More or less. It'll do for what I want to show you. So one way to do this watercolour technique on this final one, so I've used Pecan Pie as my ink, which I want to use as well for my inside, so I'll keep this out ready. So one way you can do this technique is to stamp and have your water painter ready. So if you stamp your leaf, so if I can get it into this little scrap I've just found. There we go. Stamp it, have your water painter ready, and just as soon as you've stamped it, start to use your water all the way around it like this. Can you see how it's just picking up from the leaf, picking up from the ink you've put as the outline for the leaf and colouring it in. And the more you do it, the deeper the colour will get. So that is my watercolour third technique. You can see how it's just, I don't get it out of focus, just picked up the colour from the edge of the leaf and just brought it in to fill in the leaf. But obviously this other leaf, which I've now lost, oh, there it is. This leaf here, I can't do this with. If I tried to do it, it's not really going to pick up the colour. You see, it is a little bit, but not very much, because that ink has dried. If you're going to do this, you need to do it sort of straight away. So this ink has already dried. So what can I do? Well, I've got two options. I can either squeeze this top and get some ink onto my ink pad, the top of the ink pad, and use it. I personally don't like to do it that way. I use a block. So I'm just going to pick up ink on the block, and then I'm going to actually take off the base of my water because I don't want too much water on here. Stand that up so it's not going to drip anywhere. But I can use the water that's in there to just pick up colour and then just add it where I want to add it. So it's a little bit dark. So I actually do need more water in there because that's a little bit too dark. I'll put this back on. Of course, I've used water on there, which is why there isn't enough in here, so I need to add a bit more. So I can just squeeze some out. So I've got plenty of water on there. There we go. And then just use that to colour in the leaf. This will be darker because obviously you've picked up more ink in the water. So it will be darker than just using it straight on the stamped ink thing. There we go. And then I can just again squeeze out to clean my brush, and it's ready for next time with another colour. So great to use these water painters. This one, I don't think this is actually a Stampin' Up one. I think this is one of my very old ones, but it's fine. So again, I'm just going to clean the block before it dries on and stains. So those are my 3 ideas for colouring my leaves. So as you can see, they look quite different. They're 3 different colours. I will use that one later, put it over my other leaves. Get rid of my disgusting piece of paper now. So I've got a splattered one using the dauber, which again, you can make it darker if you want, just by adding a bit more colour. So I can make it a little bit darker. So she's getting ink on the desk now. That doesn't matter. I can wipe that off. Beauty of maths. So you can get that as dark as you want. You've got the splatter using the Stampin' Blends pen, and you've got the watercolour. So those are my 3 different coloured leaves and the 3 different techniques. And I just think they make a really nice card. just popped on here like that. So I am going to pop them on. I'm going to use some dimensionals on them, just a couple on each leaf. That one's still probably a little bit wet, but we'll still use it. Probably best to have left it a bit longer, but let's put a couple on each. Might not have enough for 3 for each because this dimension pack's running out again, so I'll just put 2 on these ones. And then you can have them in whatever order you want. I personally think that the lighter colour looks best with the ribbon, but you could put the darker one there. So I'm going to put this along by the ribbon, but not actually covering that knot. So my knots, there we are, my knot is actually on its own and separate. I'm still covering it up a little bit. Well, I don't, that matters too much. I'm going to have my darker one in the middle. Oops, sticking to me. Just there. And then the other one, which is still a little bit damp, but I think it'll dry when I get it on the card anyway, at this side. So I'm just lining them up next to the other. You could obviously use different colours. You could have them all the same. You could have them all different. Totally up to you which colours to use. And they'll always look slightly different because these techniques never, ever come out quite the same. You can see the difference here between those two sponged ones, for example. This will lighten, all of these will lighten slightly as they dry, obviously, but there we go. So those are the techniques I used, and I just want to finish the card and the envelope because I've remembered to get an envelope for myself, and I'm going to finish it just by stamping the outline leaf. So I'll bring I do need my paper back again because I'm going to go off the edge here. So I'm going to use the edge of my leaf here just to stamp in the corner of the insert and onto my envelope so that they match there. And that really is all there is to it. It's not a difficult card to make. So what do you think? Are you going to have a go at those techniques? If anybody's there wants to admit that they're going to actually have a try. So I hope you do, because they're great fun. I like playing and I like getting a little bit messy, getting inky. I like getting inky. So I'm just going to finish the card by sticking this inside. Make sure I stick it in the correct side because I've done that one before and got that one wrong. I've done every mistake known to man, I have to tell you. So, and I was saying to somebody on Saturday, it's never actually a mistake. It's just a happy accident and gives you the chance to become creative, because you have to cover it up somehow. So that is my card. Here's the two, just to show side by side. I wanted to give myself a bit more room for the knot this time, and I sort of did, although I think the knot could actually be a little bit further along. Not sure I can move it now. I think it's stuck itself, which is fine. So splatter technique using the Stampin' Blends, sponge technique using the daubers, sponge daubers, or watercolour technique. And they each give a different view, but together I think they make quite a nice little card. So I hope you like that one. There's the leaves to go with it. You can see actually that shows quite well. No, I think that might have been stamped in Basic Beige, but you can see the difference between the two. As they dry, they will actually lighten up very slightly. But I hope you like them. I hope you like the card. I hope you have a go with it. And I do hope you think about getting the set. Just going to finish this one off by sticking on my already stamped sentiment. So all I've done here is stamp the sentiment in Pecan Pie and then cut it out using one of the dies from the set. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of, I can use that little strip there because I use every bit of dimensional. My dimensional pack, I paid for it, so I might as well use it all. Stick that on here, so we'll have it in the same, much the same place, just at the bottom here. And then to finish off, I found these in my stock. These are, I think they're retired now, but they're champagne rhinestones. But any little gems are fine, just to finish off the card. So I'm going to use a couple either side of my sentiment because I think that looks nice. And then I'll dot a few more around the place. These are all the same size, so I haven't got different sized ones to play with. Often I'll try and use different sizes actually, but we'll have one up there. These are going to turn out quite similar to the other pattern because I must have used the same bit of embossing folder, because when obviously it hasn't embossed all of it, there's a bit of a gap there, so I'm going to stick one in the gap. And, oh, I'll just shot one somewhere. It's landed on me, so I'll find it later. And we'll have one that's down here, actually. Somewhere there. There we go. So there is my card for today, and I hope you really liked it. I don't know, I need to find whether, oh, there it is. Found my other gem. Shall I stick that on somewhere? Should we have a couple of extras? Oh, no, I've lost it again. Is that gone again now? I don't know. These gems have a mind of their own. That's definitely vanished now. I don't know where it went. I did find it on my chair, and now it's vanished again. It's obviously flicked off somewhere else. Never mind. It'll do. So, oh dear. But yeah, I wanted to use these gems because I might as well use up what I've got in my stash, even though they're not current things, which is fine. We've all got stash to use, I'm sure. So I haven't seen anybody in the chat today. I have no idea whether there is something come up or not. I don't know whether it's my chat that's wrong or people just aren't talking to me today. I don't know what I've done to upset you all. But I hope you've enjoyed this card. I hope you like seeing the other cards that I've made. And I'll bring back in my name tag from Saturday just to show you that with the leaves, because I'm quite proud of that. I actually was not going to make a tag because I didn't think I had time. I was so rushing so much to get other things done. But then I realized I had so many leaves from trying different combinations of colors to make a different card that I might as well have put them together and used them here. And I actually quite like them. I just stuck them over anywhere, to be honest. Used a cutout frame here, and this is a retired set for the letters. And then I just stuck the leaves all the way around, and they sort of worked. So I was quite pleased with it, I must admit. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the card. All of the measurements for the bits you need and the description of these techniques is in my blog. Let me just put me up and then you can see me, and I must finish my coffee before it goes really cold. So yeah, all of the measurements and the description of the techniques will be in my blog at craftycarolscards.co.uk. Please do go along there and sign up for my email so you hear what I'm doing each week and can join me again, hopefully next Tuesday for my next live. Can't tell you what I'm doing then because I haven't decided yet, but it will be soon. And if you're interested in crafting live along with me, where you can actually talk to me, on the first Thursday of the month, I do a live craft along on Zoom at 11 o'clock on the first Thursday, which I think is the 3rd next week, I think it is. And my email this weekend will have all the bits you need to prepare, the sizes and the bits you need. I hope you'll be able to join me then. Sign up for the emails, you'll get the link in the email and all the bits you need to prepare before that. So I'd love to see you at my Zoom craft along. I hope you can make it there. I hope you enjoyed today, whether you're